How has serving people helped you? It's not in any of the things we were going to talk about, but, probably more than anybody and certainly in your case, more than anybody I know, like we're really doing whatever this is we're doing for service for you and I. Neither one of us financially have a need to do it. I gave away all the proceeds from my book. You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
How is service to other people changed your life or created more bliss in your own life? I just want to know that, because for me, I feel the most worthy oftentimes in my life when I'm in the service of somebody else.
Yes.
I actually feel worthy. I don't always feel worthy that I'm capable of doing it. But when I'm in the effort and attempt to serve somebody, I feel more connected with my own worth when I'm serving another person.
Yeah. So in the book Worthy, there's a whole chapter on fulfillment, right? And first of all, self-worth is the most critical piece, because you can do everything right. You can have self-confidence, you can be growing, you can be contributing and serving. But if you don't have self-worth, you're never going to feel truly fulfilled. So you have to have self-worth, which of course the book's packed with how do you build that, right? But then you also need self-confidence, and you also need growth. You need to be growing, stretching, like in some area of your life. And it could be simple things like growing in your faith or growing in your golf game, right? It doesn't matter what it is. You have to be growing to feel fulfilled, but you also have to be contributing, meaning doing something bigger than yourself. And a lot of people miss that. They think, if I just make enough money, if I just have enough people love me on social media, if I just whatever it might be, if you are not contributing, you'll never feel that deep source of purpose and fulfillment. And two big ways on how we're like, well, how do I contribute? I have nothing to offer. So many people think that, right? And you and I have a friend, Rory, that always talks about how we're best positioned to serve the person we once were. And another way to put that is, so often the pain we've gone through, the setbacks, the things that sucked, right? It's like when we're able to then use those and help other people make it through the things we've gotten through. It brings a deep sense of purpose and also understanding of the cadence of the calling of our life and everything we've gone through.
Gosh.
But also there's simple ways to give back. I mean, literally just smiling at a neighbor. I mean, it is that simple. There are people, so many people, I'm going to cry if I think about this and talk about this, but so many of us, if you make eye contact, and Ed, you're one of the best people I've ever met at this. I feel like it's why we're such good friends, because we both see this in other people. You're one of the best people I've ever met at seeing other people, like truly seeing other people.
Let's just be real. We both know you're the best at that.
You're amazing at it. And anyone who wants to go, how do I serve? You know how you serve? Walk into the coffee shop or wherever you're at and see someone.
Yeah.
Actually see somebody and just say hi, or how are you? Or, I almost guarantee you I'm going to cry. I almost guarantee you for so many people, if you walk into any room you're in today in your life and you actually just see somebody, you're probably going to be the only person that day that sees them.
You're so brilliant. You're so brilliant. So where I started practicing this was in places like coffee shops, because I didn't feel worthy to do it in like business environments. So I actually practiced it like in grocery stores and coffee shops, and I recommend everybody do it. And so let's just say you went to order your coffee and the barista's there.
Yeah.
Hey, what can I get you? Welcome. And you just take a second and there's a pause. I do this now as who I am, but at first I had to practice. And so I would let them pause and I'd go, hey, how are you? And I'll just take a second. How are you today? And you look at them and you hold the glance and actually wait for them to answer you. They feel that energy. And the first few times I did it, it was awkward. And then I went, wow, I get the added bonus to my coffee today. I connected with this human being.
Yes.
And as I'm walking out, I felt better. I know they felt better, but I felt better.
Yep.
What I didn't know until I read your book is I actually felt a little bit more worthy.
Yep.
And then when I went into business meetings, I had a little bit more of the worthy bucket filled up.
Yes.
Because I did exactly in the exact environment. You go to a cashier at a grocery store. How are you today? And you actually listen and say it a little slower. Hey, how are you? That's not the same thing as how are you?
Yeah.
And they feel you actually want to know and you care.
Yes.
Slowing your life down like that. You're like, what's that got to do with business? I don't know. best person I know at doing that is you. You said I'm the best person you know at doing that is me. And we're two of the richest people in this entire space. So there's some correlative property to it to business as well, right? There's got to be.
And two things happen. You see that other person. So now all of a sudden you're in service to something bigger than yourself. But when you see that other person and they realize it, they then see you.
Yes.
The moment they realize you saw them is the moment they see you. When you actually see someone else and in that moment they realize it and then they see you, you actually feel seen. And here's something that is so powerful and profound and huge when we realize we do this in our lives. Is so many of us, and I'm talking about no matter where you're at in your career or your goals or your ambitions or the version of success in your life that the world celebrates, right? Whether it's having the kids and the whatever it is, no matter where you're at in that, like we are so tempted always to actually still live our lives hiding in plain sight. Never actually showing who we truly are, never actually allowing our true self to be seen, right? Just showing up with the parts of us that the world celebrates. And we start creating barriers of disconnection in our lives. But more than that, right? And we wonder why we're not fulfilled in relationships. But more than that is we create a barrier of disconnection with ourselves. We don't actually see ourselves. And just to give this analogy, for everyone listening, right? For you, for me, for everyone watching us, is maybe you remember the moment as like a little kid in class, and think back to when you were a little kid, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the very first moment when you knew the answer, but you decided for the first time ever not to raise your hand because you thought, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I get made fun of? What if I no longer belong after I do that? And that is for so many people, the moment that self-doubt starts to set in, the moment we become aware of these things, the moment we start to shrink our self-worth and our self-confidence. And so that moment we start hiding in plain sight. And then what does that look like today as an adult? For a lot of people, it looks like, oh, you're on a Zoom meeting with your team and you have an idea, but you don't raise your hand. You don't share it, just in case it sucks, right? It looks like, oh, you're the boss and maybe you're crushing it and you're hitting numbers every single quarter, but you actually have some novel ideas to innovate and move your company or your industry forward, but you're not going to do them because you're scared to take a risk, right? Because you're crushing it now. That is hiding in plain sight. It looks like maybe you're the extrovert that walks into the room and can entertain everyone else, but no one actually knows what you're really dealing with.
Yes.
Right? You're hiding in plain sight.
That's the most profound thing. You said that the other day. I do feel like people hide in plain sight.
Yep.
By the way, ask yourself, am I doing that?
Yeah.
Am I playing small? Am I shrinking? Do I not raise the proverbial hand in so many moments in my life when I could step forward and take my power?
And to add to that too, Ed, is when you ask yourself this, right? What are the ways you're hiding in plain sight in your life? And it might be in work. It might be in your romantic relationship. It might be in your friendships. Do you know how many people feel like they've got to play a part to fit into a friend group? But then they feel lonely because those friends actually don't know them for who they truly are. There's so many ways we're hiding in plain sight so often in our lives. And the most important thing you can do is not just identify it. And I take you through so many exercises on how to do this in Worthy, in the book coming out, which you can pre-order now and get a special live Zoom with Ed and me if you do it.
Worthybook.com/Ed. Okay.
That's right. And it's going to go away. So do it now. But I go deep in this because the most important thing is not just to identify in your life all the ways you're hiding in plain sight, all the ways that self-doubt is impacting your life, but then to identify what does hiding in plain sight already cost you in your life? What does it cost you in your goals and dreams? What does it cost you in the depth of connection you have in your relationships and in your friendships, right? What does it cost you? And then when you really go through the work of going, what will it cost you 5, 10 years from now if you don't change? And you start really opening your eyes. We're always wired as human beings to avoid pain. And when you really do the work here and you understand what it's going to cost you, what it has cost you, what it will cost you, that pain will be greater. than the pain of, you know what? I might get rejected, I might lose some friends. I might be embarrassed. People might not get me, but I'm not going to hide anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up and I'm going to be seen. Like not just the parts of me I think I need to be, but like the true parts of me. I am so blessed to have friends like you who sharpen me all the time. That is so, so, so important. And also, you don't need to hold out for a hero in order to go after your dreams. You don't need it. It's an excuse. It's a lie. It is an indication of unworthiness to believe that we need somebody else before we're enough. Or once that, person shows up and I'm married, then I'll be enough. Once I have kids in my life, then I'll be enough. Once I get that dream mentor, then my business will take off. All of it is a lie. It's a lie that leads to self-doubt. And it's why I wrote this book, because it's packed with truths that wake up worthiness. Because when you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams in life, you always will plateau at the level of your self-worth.
Yes.
And when you get that right, it changes everything. And by the way, I'm getting so fired up, not to like go into the personal growth world or anything, but so what I realized is like so much of the work you hear thought leaders doing around overcoming limiting beliefs, you might have a limiting belief that you'll never make a lot of money, or you're too young or too old, or whatever it might be. You can do all the work of overcoming those limiting beliefs. But if you do not do the work on overcoming the limiting beliefs about worthiness, it does not matter, because you can accomplish everything again and go, okay, I believe I'm smart enough now. I believe all the things. Those are building your self-confidence. If you don't do that innate work of building your worthiness, then you'll sabotage all the stuff that you bring into your life.
You give such great tactical tools. Like, I mean, I could go into, I'm trying to think of like my favorite of all of the tactical tools, because there are so many, and there's so many that really align with the things that I write about. And I love the fear of failure. That's a huge thing. Like what you open the book with. Oh my gosh. It's so powerful. Picturing the little child. I want to read that line, because that's a really powerful line. In the very beginning of the book, Jamie talks about how when you're sitting in the classroom and you know the answer, and the teacher asks, the question, and what is that little voice inside of your head that makes you not lift your hand and not say the answer? You're right. Like, that's the first little instance of that, even when we're children, of not speaking up, not trusting ourselves and our intuition, that we know the right answer. We know the right direction. And I loved that line from the book. And I remembered that from the very beginning of the book to the end. But I'll let you speak to that too. I was going to ask you, of all of the tools in the entire book, what do you feel, if you had to pick one thing from Worthy, one thing, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. So there's like 3, and just what you were saying.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I know, and there's over 20 tools, because, sometimes we get a book and then we're like, well, that was great, but how can I apply it to my life? And I wanted this book, and you just said it so beautifully, Mallory, for wherever anyone's at in their life. I wanted them to be able to apply this to their life right now, to literally learn to believe in themselves, even if it's for the first time ever, or for the first time in a long time. And it's just, and the part you're talking about, I think so many people can relate to is often when we're little kids, like we're bold, we're all the things. And then so many of us can remember that moment in the classroom. And for everyone listening right now, maybe you can think back and, there's this moment a lot of us recall where like for the first time ever, we knew the answer, but like we decided not to raise our hand. We decided to doubt ourselves, or think maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'll get made fun of if I stand out and know the answer. And all the stuff starts happening, and we start to learn all these lies in our life that lead to self-doubt, to us hiding in plain sight, doubting we're enough, feeling like an imposter. And what I want to say is, and you asked about the difference like between self-confidence and self-worth, that one thing alone is actually super life-changing for
Yes.
anyone listening. And I just, and I would love to kind of explain that, because that's something that everyone listening can apply to their life right now, today, from this episode, from this show.
Yes, I would love to do that too.
You know, and in real life, Mallory, just everyone can, I think, watch, and I just love you and celebrate you and love how you are fully authentically who you are out into the world, and you cannot fake authenticity. And that is why so many people connect with you. But just for everyone listening in real time, because I know this is all one big family.
It is.
As I sit here in my Sundays talking, I just want everyone to kind of put this in perspective through Mallory for a minute and think about, not to put you on the spot, but think about like Mallory's journey and how you're watching it unfold before your eyes, of her, you know, journey through everything from television to pageants to launching, you know, Living Fully Co. to now In My Sundays. And all of us have dreams and hopes and ideas and things inside of us. And as we step into who we are in this world and who we feel we're called to be, our self-worth will be our ceiling. And so why I wrote this book is for every person, no matter where you're at, no matter if you're going to launch your own version of Living Fully Co, or you want to have the self-worth and belief and confidence in yourself to just decide to start showing up authentically on social media, or to make new friends as an adult, or to set boundaries for the first time ever, or to say what you really feel and mean what you really say. I mean, there's so many areas this applies to our lives. But even watching you, Mallory, and everything that you're building in real time, the greatest key to your success will be that you continue to fully show up in alignment with your assignment as who you authentically are.
I love that line in the book, by the way.
Right.
Alignment with your assignment.
And then also that you don't doubt yourself out of your own destiny, because to watch you doing these great things, and I'm just sharing this in community with everyone listening now, like we're all together in a room in our Sundays, and we're just talking and all cheering you on. And we're all part of this beautiful journey with you, with everything you're putting out there in the world. And here's what happens to a lot of people. At some point in the journey, sometimes before they've even started it, they deep down inside don't think they're worthy of it. And so they stay stuck. Because here's the thing, just to take a big step back, self-worth. And when we have lack of self-worth, which again is very different than self-confidence, I'll explain that in a second. But if we have a self-worth issue, this is what it usually looks like in our lives. If we have pretty low self-worth, and by the way, I've been in a spot where I've been accomplishing so much and the world's telling me I'm amazing, and I have a lot of self-confidence, which is all external based, but inside I didn't believe I was enough. And when we struggle with low self-worth, for a lot of us, it looks like this in our lives. It looks like we are stuck. We are stuck. We don't go for the thing. We have the business idea, but we don't launch it. We have the website we want to register, or we want to put our art out into the world, or our ideas, or we want to share a really cool idea at work that might change everything, but we stay stuck. We don't do it. We don't know why. We tell ourselves stories like, oh, I just need more experience, or, oh, I need to get more skill sets, but really, we don't realize it's because deep down inside, we actually don't feel worthy of the thing. So we will stay stuck. And that if we have low to medium self-worth, what that looks like in our life is we might go for the thing. We might launch it. We might put ourselves out there, but then we will sabotage it along the way. We'll write the whole first half of the book and then we'll stop. We'll put the business out there, and then we don't know why we're scrolling Instagram for 8 to 10 hours a day. Like we'll totally put ourselves on the dating app. We'll start dating, and then we meet a great person, and we all of a sudden put him in the friend zone and aren't attracted to him, and we don't know why. Like when we don't think we are worthy of something, whether it's of receiving love a certain way, because deep down inside we don't fully love ourselves yet, whether it's any number of things, we'll sabotage it, or we'll hit a ceiling. And then if you have medium to high self-worth, but it's not quite high, what that looks like is we'll actually go for the thing. We'll make it happen. We'll be crushing it everywhere, but we'll arrive at it still feeling like it's not enough and like we're not enough and like something's missing.
And
like,
unfulfilled.
Unfulfilled.
Unfulfilled. I love that when you talk about how like the self-worth is it's the foundation of your fulfillment. Yes. I've never thought of it like that.
Yes,
because I have had different versions of self-worth, and it's amazing that you speak to those 3 different people in this book. So it's like anybody that picks up Worthy, whether it's like, I've never had self-worth, and I've never started anything, and I've never raised my hand, and I've never been that person. You talk to them in this book. The medium person, you self-sabotage. Self-sabotage was such a big like theme in my own life. And that's a tough one because like, especially if you are a perfectionist or like a recovering perfectionist, it's like, that's my own fault. You know, it's like a double whammy. But I love that high tier self-worth piece that it's tied to fulfillment. Because man, do I relate when you talk about over and over in this book about how you got to the top of the mountain and you had all the things and everybody's like, awesome job. And you still don't feel it. It's like, well, what in the heck else can I do? Nothing. Go inside.
Yes, because here's the thing, like wherever you go, whatever you achieve, whatever, you still take you with you. And so, and here's the thing is for everyone listening, you can even think about in your own life right now, if you've ever, well, let me take a step back. So, okay, really fast, self-confidence and self-worth, so different.
So different.
And we are raised by lots of well-intended, awesome family members. And if we're blessed, and by commercials and advertisements, all kinds of things, our whole life to think, if I just get these things, then I'll be happy, not realizing that those things all build confidence, but none of them build worth. And self-confidence is while it's an internal trait and it's so important in our lives, it's so valuable in our lives, but self-confidence is largely based on external things, on how we assess our skills and abilities, how we compare and stack up and measure to others, our willingness to try and go for it, if we're winning or losing, you know, how much of the world's definition of success we have. And our self-confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. They do studies that the boxer that wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident. Like it's very, and our self-worth is very different. That is the deep internal knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, not as your past or your past mistakes, not as how much you achieve, but exactly as you are. And when you think about like self-confidence is like the house we build and all the rooms, and we can add to them and decorate them, and it's like amazing and important. But our self-worth is the foundation beneath our house, and our house will only ever be as secure as that foundation of self-worth. And for everyone listening, if you think about like, maybe you've always had like a certain, or you've had many, but a certain goal or dream that you thought like, when I finally get that thing, then I'm going to be happy. Then I'm going to be fulfilled. And maybe it's getting married or having kids. Maybe it's like getting the dream house or hitting a certain goal weight or a number in the bank account or a job title or fame or any of those things. And then we work so hard for these things, right? And have you ever worked so hard? Sometimes it's months or years or decades. And then you finally got that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you arrived at it, did it like solve all your problems, make you happy and fulfilled forever?
For like 5 minutes.
Right? Yeah. For most of us, it's like, oh, we were happy for a month or a week or 5 minutes. And all of a sudden we're like, why do I still feel like something's missing, or like it's not enough, or like I'm not enough? And then what we do, and by the way, when we think about this, every commercial on television is like, if you get this, and like we just tend to think those are the things, right? Every well-intended family member says, how, you know, are you married yet? Are you going to have kids? How's your job? We think once we have great answers to all those things, we'll finally feel enough inside. And in the pursuit of all those things, right, we finally get one, and then we realize, oh, I still feel like something's missing. So usually what we do is we then think, oh, I just got to work harder. I just got to go to the next level. I just got to achieve more. And this becomes this never-ending cycle for most people. Their entire life, they arrive never feeling enough or fulfilled. And those things are beautiful and important, and they all build self-confidence, but none of them build self-worth. And that's different. And so when you, and the one thing I want to share really fast is that when you build self-worth and believe you are enough as who you are, it doesn't curb your ambition. Like, you actually become more ambitious, right? Like, when you learn to believe you are enough as you are, you become more ambitious, because you realize, like, oh gosh, if I fall flat on my face, if I fail, it might shake my confidence a little bit, but it cannot touch my worth. And you become more ambitious. And the beautiful part, like, I've only learned to have true self-worth in my life the last 3 years. That's it. And I still work harder than ever. But when I achieve the things I'm so passionate about, I actually feel fulfilled. Versus like, something's missing, I'm not enough, I'm perpetually not enough. I'm no longer sabotaging things in my life. And it's self-worth is truly the one thing that changes everything. And I know there'll be so many people listening right now that just step one have awareness, going, oh gosh, yes, self-confidence is important, but all the things I've been trying to do, thinking that they'd make me feel enough, they're all building self-confidence, which that's important. But they do not build self-worth. It's very different. And just that awareness is going to be life-changing.
It's going to be life-changing. And I've never, ever heard anyone speak about self-confidence and self-worth in this way ever. It was a very big aha for me. And even in the parts of the book where you were talking about, I'm a big, like, I love to visualize. I know that you do too. Like, I go back to the like old school Jamie that I know that talked about it in Believe It, where you would sit in the QVC parking lot and you'd visualize yourself, and you'd visualize visualization is big for me and you too, but for me and you both. But I never really thought about, I'd always thought, okay, to manifest these things, and, we're in the new year, it's February, to manifest these things, I've got to do it. Great vision board. I got to visualize. I'm going to, really be thinking about these things. But you bringing in the aspect of, no, actually, you know what you got to do before you get those magazines out and before you make your chart of the things you want in your life? You've got to get that self-worth right. You've got to that's actually the foundation. And I thought that was really powerful in terms of visualizing goals and things in your life. And I'm a big visualizer, and I'd never thought about it like that. That was powerful. That was really powerful.
And I love a great vision board. And here's what's wild is when you can look back at the things on your vision board that have happened, right? It's often when you also in parallel, learn to believe you're worthy of those things, right? So we can have like the big vision boards and all that, which I love. And I love manifesting. I love all that. And I know exactly what you just said, that none of them will actually happen until we learn to believe we're worthy of them, or we'll make them happen, but then we'll sabotage them, right? Because our self-worth is our ceiling. It is the thing. It is the thing.
It is the thing.
Yes. It is why I wrote Worthy. And literally, like you shared, I'm donating 100% of the proceeds. This is not, for me, this is like, oh my gosh, it was, and I feel so blessed. And yes, I worked really hard and did 100-hour weeks for a decade and all the things to build a $1 billion business from my living room. But I was actually praying about this recently. And I just felt this like feeling like, I feel like I did all those things, not so that I had some great outcome, but to learn this lesson that no matter how hard you work or how much you achieve, like, yes, that's fun. And I'm grateful for all of it, but it's not the thing that ever makes you feel enough. It's not. And I don't think, had I not gone through all of it, and then like, I remember, oh my gosh, Mallory, I remember, being a little girl watching Oprah growing up, always dreaming of meeting her.
And this story, and it took you how many years to call her after? 4?
Oh my gosh.
Tell that story. That's a good story.
That is what low self-worth looks like in our life. And by the way, sometimes it's that we meet a really cool new friend as an adult and we don't know why we're not reaching out, asking them to go to coffee. We don't know why. And like, we will sabotage things when we don't think we're worthy of them. And yeah, my whole life, I watched Oprah as a little girl in my living room. And, I was alone a lot growing up. I'm adopted. And I just had this like, no business even thinking this, but like, I just was like, I'm going to meet her one day. And I dared to pray and believe that was going to happen. And, and I, 40 years later met her and had lunch at her house, had a 3-hour lunch. And imagine, whoever, for everyone listening, whoever maybe one of your heroes was your whole life from the time you were a little girl, and then meeting them. And then I had this 3-hour lunch and it was amazing. And by the way, Mallory, at that moment in time, I was like crushing it in the world. I was so confident. I had just sold at cosmetics for $1 billion cash. I was on the Forbes list. All these things looked like I must just feel so great on the inside. And I didn't know yet the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. What I know now is I had a whole lot of self-confidence. I had this amazing 3-hour lunch with Oprah at her house. At the very end of it, she gave me her cell phone number and said, call me anytime. You can call me anytime. And I left there and I did not call her for 4 years. 4 years. And in that process, I told myself stories, right? About like, oh, I just need to wait for the perfect thing to say, or, oh, everyone wants something from her. I'm going to prove I don't need anything. Like just all these stories. And literally 4 years later, I realized that the real reason I hadn't called her was deep down inside, I didn't feel worthy of it. I didn't feel worthy of being her friend. And I knew that was a lie. Like I remember this day going, wait a minute, my soul, if I pray and I ask God to tell me that my soul knows I am a kick-ass friend. Yeah. Like I am worthy of being anyone's friend. I know that. But self-doubt, which lives in our thoughts and our mind, had convinced me this lie that I wasn't worthy. And that day I was like, I literally imagined like the way you'd see a volume dial on a radio in the car. Like I imagined turning down the volume on my self-doubt in my mind.
I love that.
And turning up the volume on that knowing, that still small voice, that intuition, that knowing in our soul that, for me, when I pray, it's how I hear God talk to me is through my intuition. Yes. That's like, oh, you are more than enough. And you are so worthy of being her friend or anyone else's friend. And that day I was like, I had to listen to that knowing. And that was the first time I called her. And what's wild is then we've taught a course together, all these things since, but what's wild is it almost didn't happen because that time and so many others, I was doubting myself out of my own destiny.
Yeah.
And when I think about everyone listening right now, and I think about like, just when we learn to build self-worth and believe we're worthy of a great friendship, of a healthy relationship, of sharing our ideas and raising our hand, of writing a book and sharing our story, or putting our ideas out in the world, or showing up authentically. Like, I just think of how many people are doubting themselves out of their own destiny right now, because they believe the lie that they're not worthy of it, or that they're not enough. And I'm just so passionate about how the time for change has come, literally. And that's why also it's just an honor too, Mallory, to just champion you and cheer you on. Like I know so many people listening are, because we can all see ourselves in another woman as she is believing she is worthy of the things she's doing, whether it's making a certain bread recipe or like showing their kids making a disaster of the house or launching her business out into the world. We see that in us, in you. And I think you help bring that out in every person watching, because at a soul level, every one of us knows that we are fully worthy as we are. And like, that's one of the things I'm most excited about Worthy, about the book, is that this isn't like, oh, here's how to learn this foreign language that's going to take years to understand. It's like, oh, no. Actually, every person, this is the best news, is every person listening to us right now, I do not care how many past mistakes, failures, how many people you've hurt, how many things you regret, where you come from, what you don't have or don't know, or how many successes you have. I don't care about any of it. You right now are fully worthy. And it's not about learning to be somebody else. It's about unlearning the lies that tell you you're not. And that's what's so powerful and beautiful. And so, I'm just really, really excited. And
this is our victory lap, right? I like it when you say that, and they're like, let's run the victory lap. Like, forget about that. So many people live in the past and their past mistakes. And I just, you're talking about people watching me, and I just have to say, because truly, I mean, Jamie can say one single sentence to me because Jamie is you are so wise. You are so wise. You can say one thing to me and it completely changes my mindset and the trajectory of the whole entire decision I'm going to make. And like, they're huge decisions. So that's why I was so excited to read Worthy. And I'm so fortunate and lucky because not only did I know about the book, I was one of the first people that you were like, this was my life's work. It was a divine download. And I'm like, okay, Jamie, show me the book. Let me see. Let me read this book. And let me tell, oh my gosh, it is. It is your life work. It is your life's work. It is a divine download. It is all of the things that you said, because when I read this book, it jumped off the pages to me. And it's really cool because I'm so lucky that I have some access to you, and you can help me through these things. Now you're helping everybody else. Anybody that picks up a copy of Worthy and reads this book, even reads like 2 chapters of this book, it's going to actually change your life. It's going to actually change your life. And that is so cool because, I interview a lot of people and I'm like, this is really awesome. And I'm really inspired. But then I read this book and I was like, okay, this is actually going to change a lot of women's lives. And it's really cool. And I'm so grateful that we got to talk about it because I'm certain that every single woman after listening to this podcast is going to be very inspired and they're going to pick up this book. And it's a gift. It's a gift to women. And I'm so certain of what you just said, that all the things that you went through in your life, they guided you here because this is incredible stuff in Worthy.
You're not crazy. You're just first. All right, I want you to hear me out on this because this is a life-changing concept and it's also true. So you might be thinking, what do you mean I'm first? I'm not the first to do anything. My ideas, someone's already done them, that kind of thing. I bet someone's done them better than I have. All right, I want you to just take this in for a minute because when you embrace your firstness, it not only helps build really, really strong self-worth, but it can change how bravely you show up in the world as who you truly are. It can change your perspective on whether or not you feel like you belong or not, whether or not you feel like people get you. Literally, it can help you realize that the things that you thought maybe were odd or quirky or off about you are actually almost always the things that are most right with you. So this idea, you're not crazy, you're just first. So hear me out. And I go into this really deep into how to embrace this fully in Worthy. There's a whole chapter and a poem called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. Here's the thing. There is only one of you in the entire universe. There's never been another you before. There'll never be another you again. And if you're saying, well, what's the big deal? Just think about this for a minute. You are the only one in existence with your fingerprints, right? You're the only one in existence with your tongue print. Yep, we all have a unique tongue print. You're the only one in existence with the iris of your eyes. You actually have a unique heartbeat that no one else in the world has, right? And think about this. You're the only one that has the set of experiences you've had in life. You're the only one to feel the emotions that you feel at any moment, exactly the way you feel them. You're the only one that sees art and beauty and ups and downs and highs and lows the way that you do. If you are one of the brave ones willing to actually show up in this world as who you authentically are, you're first. If you're one of the, now if you show up as your representative or try to be like someone else, etc., but if you're one of the brave ones, showing up as who you fully, authentically are, you are first. And when you are first, do not be surprised if not everyone gets it. Don't be surprised if you might walk into a few rooms and feel like you don't quite belong. Don't be surprised if you feel like someone just doesn't get you or you don't fit in. You're first. There's never been another you before. And there'll never will be another you like you. This concept is huge because so many of us feel like, I've got to change who I am to fit in. Or, people have been calling me odd or quirky or off or different or strange, right? Or crazy. You're not crazy. you're just first. You're just first. And here's the thing, when it comes to your ideas, your goals, your dreams, your art that you want to put out there in the world, your business that you launched or that you are in the process of launching, right? Don't be surprised if not everyone gets it at first. Because if you are doing, listen, I don't care how many people out there have done the idea before you. If you're doing it authentically to you, no one's ever done it, right? Like when I built It Cosmetics, there was thousands of makeup companies doing thousands of foundations and concealers, but no one had done it the way I was going to do it, authentically to me. So by definition, that excuse of like, oh, someone's done my idea or something, it's impossible. If you bring who you authentically are to that idea, to that business, to that piece of art, to that expression, to that offering to the world, you're first. No one else has done it quite like you. So when it comes to your business or your ideas or your art, if you're putting it out there and you feel like it's not getting traction or you're not sure why, or maybe you're showing it to like experts and touted visionaries and you're wondering why they don't think it's going to succeed, here's why. I'll tell you why. Because when I built It Cosmetics, I was doing it so differently. Almost everybody told me it's not going to work. Like so many of the experts I put on pedestals said it's not going to work. And listen, they wanted the best for me. But even touted visionaries, even experts, subconsciously, they're not going to believe something's going to work if they've never seen it work before. If there's no social proof it's going to work. So if you're doing something that is authentic to you, they've never seen it work before because it's never been done. So it is, if I had learned this lesson, by the way, y'all, I would have saved myself so many nights crying myself to sleep. Like thinking like, why does everyone not think this idea is going to work, right? Many of us know the outcome. 8 years later, 100 weeks later, It Cosmetics grew to $1 billion business. But for many years, because I was doing it authentic to me, it wasn't working in the beginning. People didn't quite get it in the beginning. And a lot of experts said it would never, ever work. And so I want you to really take this to heart, okay? That when you are doing something authentic to who you are, it has never been done before. It has never been done before. And so you got to get really, really good at cheering yourself on, at believing in the offering you're putting out there into the world, whether it's in the form of just showing up as who you are and all that you are, whether it's in the form of a business or creation or ideas or art. You have to get really, really good at cheering yourself on, because what I have learned is most people will cheer you on after you make it. After the thing catches on, after people start embracing it. So in that journey, I want you to remember this. If you're doing something that you feel like others are like, I don't get it, doesn't quite fit in, you don't quite belong, right? You're different or odd or strange or crazy. You're not crazy. You're just first. And I just want to share one more thing. And again, there's a whole chapter in Worthy called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. And we go deep into how to really look at your identity and build your self-worth around this. Because for so many of us, feeling like we are not enough and don't belong can take root at an identity level. I remember growing up, I have 5 families, I was adopted, it's a whole story. But I remember so many of my loving, well-intentioned family members would say things to me like, you're so odd or strange or crazy. I would have these big ideas on how to impact the world or, solve global problems. And I didn't even know what I was talking about at that point in my life, but I just had these big, dreams and ideas and thoughts. And they would literally, so many of them would always say like, you're crazy. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you're crazy, all that. And I remember there was this moment in my life when in my 20s, I had gone to therapy for the first time ever. And I literally asked my therapist, I'm like, I feel like, I don't fit in and sometimes I don't belong in the room and this and that. And I have these ideas. And she explained to me that when you are somebody who, especially is the first in your family, or first in your peer group, or first amongst the people you spend time around, or first amongst the people you were raised around, to have, to think differently, to actually be willing to show up as who you authentically are. Like, don't be surprised if you don't feel like you fit in because you're first. You're the first to truly, have the confidence and the self-worth to show up as all of who you are. And I just remember this moment that hit me like a light bulb, so powerful. The light bulb burst when I realized, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm just first. So I just want to share this with you today in case these words are for you. You're not crazy. You're just first. You're not odd. You're just first. There's nothing wrong with you. In fact, the things you think are most odd or quirky or wrong with you are actually so often the things that are most right with you. The things that are most right with you. And when you're one of the brave ones who is willing to show up in this world as who you authentically are, you are first. So be the first, best, most quirky, odd, fully embracing, talented, gifted, like full expression, best ever, only you who are first.
I want to do from Jamie a quick prayer. And what I want to do is we'll close our eyes, and everybody watching, close your eyes, and just, if you could think back to who you used to be, or like who Believe It is really meant for, the person who's struggling to believe in themselves, they're struggling to have the confidence, they have big ideas, bold ambitions, but they just need that extra reminder of who they are and that they can do it. And I see this honestly as something that whenever somebody is feeling low, down, unsure of themselves, they could fast forward to watch this part of the video again to get that personal message from Jamie. Are you down?
I'm down. So this is going to be a prayer for every single person listening, no matter what faith they practice, or if they have no faith, or if they trust the universe. So I want to make sure, because I'll use the words I use when I pray. But I just want to know everyone's welcome into this prayer, no matter how they pray or if they pray at all, no matter what they believe or if they don't believe. When you see my friends in life, my closest group of friends, I actually talk a lot about this in the book, about how do you build that circle around you. They don't all pray the same or vote the same or love the same or believe the same, but they all have huge hearts. And I think in life, that's how we should attract people. It's why I'm honored to be your friend, Mr. Evan Carmichael, because you have a big heart. And so I just want to say that. So thank you. So, all right, you ready?
We're ready. We're ready.
People are crying already in the comments. You know what that tells me? That tells me that they're supposed to be here with us right now. So, all right, I'm going to close my eyes too then. Dear God, I just want to ask that you bless every single person listening right now, watching right now, hearing this right now. I do not think it's an accident that they're hearing this right now, and that they're showing up, or that they're watching this video, or that they're hearing these words. And I just ask that you remind them of who they are, of who they were born to be, long before people around them told them something else. Long before the world around them told them how they weren't enough, or how they needed to change who they are to fit in. And I just want you to spark that light inside of them that reminds them that they have every single thing inside of them right now. So if you're listening right now and you're watching this right now, I just want to remind you, you have every single thing you need inside of you right now to become the person you're born to be. And everything in you is perfect. You don't need to change anything about who you are, right? The second you do that, you step away. The real victory is becoming all of who you are and all of the person you're born to be. And I just want to pray that every single person listening right now who might be in the midst of a setback, in the midst of a season where they're feeling doubt, or things aren't going their way, or they're just feeling like stuck and lost and like they don't belong, right? Like they're not enough. I just want to pray that they take in these words right now, especially for people feeling like they're not qualified or they don't have what it takes. Words that I love every single day that I'm going to share in this prayer right now. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Anyone right now feeling like they don't have what it takes is just not true.
Like if God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. It means if you have a dream on your heart, a purpose you're feeling like going after, something you just can't shake, even if you're not having the success you want right now, if you feel in your gut that you're supposed to be doing it, whether it's painting the painting or dancing and taking the ballroom dance class or putting yourself out there online or writing the first page of the book, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call. It means you have every single thing inside of you need right now to accomplish your wildest dreams. And the greatest journey we can go on in life is learning to believe that for ourselves. So God, I just want to say, I pray belief into every person listening right now. I do not think it's an accident they're hearing this or listening to this. And I just want to thank you in advance because it's already done. In Jesus' name, amen.
I would like to go back to when you're a Denny's waitress. You wrote a book called Worthy. Are you at Denny's feeling worthy, or what are you feeling like?
Yeah, that's the thing. I wrote Worthy because, first of all, our self-worth is our ceiling, right? So many of us, like, we think, oh, I just need more skill set. I need to work harder. And all those things are important, but our self-worth is our ceiling. I didn't know that for a long time. And what I know now, like, you want to double your business, double your self-worth. You want to double your success, double your self-worth. And for a long time, I didn't realize that, really in life, like, we don't necessarily rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And so when I was in my days waitressing tables at Denny's, I literally remember moments where I'd look around and think like, I could run this, have those kind of thoughts, but then my self-doubt would get really, really, really loud. And so, a lot of people maybe Google my story and they see like, oh, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company. But my real story is like, and that happened, yes. And I'm so proud of it. And learned so many tactical tools and takeaways I'm so happy to share and dive into. But my real journey, I'm more proud of than that, is like going from a girl who really didn't believe in myself most of my life, to learning how to believe in myself and learning how to believe I'm worthy, of the hopes and dreams I have. And I think that's the biggest thing, like, for anyone listening, is so important that we know what we want and why we want it, and then take action and do all the things. But at the end of the day, like, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And that's in life, in our business, in our goals, and our dreams. So when we raise our self-worth, we change everything. Because if we don't, like, we literally, so many people sabotage things, stay stuck, or doubt themselves out of their own destiny because our self-doubt gets so loud. So
maybe before we go further, maybe talking about before Denny's, what was your childhood like, and maybe why did you not feel worthy?
Yeah, I think, what's wild is you look at the data right now. So like, as the three of us are talking, 80% of women don't believe they're enough, and 73% of men feel inadequate and not enough. And it's wild because we're so good at hiding. A lot of people are really, really good at hiding it. And it's funny, I was just talking with Ed Milet, who loves the two of you, who was so excited for me to come on the show because he loves both of you. And he was saying, right now, despite in his life having private jets, huge companies with success, all the things going on externally, which brings him a lot of confidence, he still struggles to believe he's enough. And it's sort of this lifelong journey, because when we don't underneath it all believe we're enough, we can achieve everything and build all this self-confidence, but we'll never feel fulfilled when we do it. And a lot of people think, well, if I feel like I'm enough as I am, will I lose my edge? Will I stop, will I become less ambitious? It's actually the opposite. Like, when you feel super, super enough, like strong self-worth as you are, you actually become more fearless because okay, if I fall flat on my face, if I fail, if I have setbacks, like, it might shake my self-confidence a little bit, which is largely based on the external, but like, I'm unshakable inside, and it helps you become more fearless. And so growing up, I think, what I will say, so in Worthy, there's like, I covered 20 different tools on how to build unshakable self-worth. And a lot of them are lies that so many of us need to unlearn. And one of the lies, which I think comes from my childhood, to answer your question, I grew up believing that achievement equaled love, or that I needed to achieve to be enough. And sort of like confusing achievement with love.
Did that come from your parents or did that come from a teacher? Or like, where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I think so. So two things. I think universally, so many of us are raised even just seeing like advertisements and this and that, and they're great, but or well-intended people in our lives that are like, all they ask about is your job or how's your job going? How's your work going? Are you married yet? Do you have kids? And we start to learn that if we get good answers to those things, then we've got their stamp of approval. Like then we're enough. Then and so that's there. And then a lot of us work so hard to finally get these big goals that we think will make us feel enough, and we arrive at them and still feel like something's missing, and still feel like So then we just keep hustling harder, and it becomes this never-ending, perpetual thing, which is what Ed and I have both experienced for decades of our life, where we keep achieving the next level and the next level and the next level. And to give you like a real tangible example, because for everyone listening to us right now, if they're like, oh, I'm super confident, I'm super successful, I kind of feel like I'm not enough or it's not enough, but I think I just got to work harder. It's actually a self-worth issue, because a lot of people will give up on marriages. They think something's missing in their marriage when really they don't feel enough as who they are.
100% go off on that. I totally agree with that.
It's such a thing.
Yeah, they want someone else to fill up their cup, but what you got to realize is it's an inside job. You got to fill up your own cup.
Exactly. And so the number of marriages that end, or the number of people that think, oh, I just need to quit my job and go to another one, or this or that, I don't have the fulfillment I need. And they think that the enoughness needs to come from the outside. And that's a self-worth thing. So 3 ways, like for anyone listening, like if they are like, wait a minute, do I need worthy? Like, do I feel enough? Is this really a thing? Because I think I'm crushing it on the outside. The 3 main ways that like self-worth become big issues in our life. If we have low self-worth, and this is for everybody listening, if we have low self-worth, it often looks like we're stuck. Like we're stuck, meaning, oh, we have a crazy, amazing business idea, or we have a book we want to write, or we have, we don't want to be alone and we want to be in a relationship, but we literally are stuck and we don't know why. We don't get on the dating app. We don't submit the manuscript or even start writing it. We don't register the domain for our business. And a lot of people think like, oh, I'm stuck because I just need to get more experience or more skill sets. It's like, no, actually, underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of the thing. And when you don't believe you're worthy of it, like your self-worth will become your ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, which a lot of people do, this is me most of my life, even after selling my company for over $1 billion cash, I was very confident. I had high confidence. I was crushing it on the Forbes, all these things. I didn't know that self-confidence, which fluctuates based on external things, if we're winning or losing, our skill sets and abilities, is different than self-worth. Self-worth is like the deep internal knowing that you are enough and worthy exactly as you are. And that self-worth level is our ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, we can be, crushing it and doing all these kind of things, but we still hit ceilings and we sabotage them. We'll sabotage opportunities. We'll write the whole manuscript, but then not submit it. We'll hit 6 figures in our business, but not 7 figures, and we don't know why. We'll have, really wild ideas to put like our talent and offerings out in the world, but we'll scroll Instagram for 8 hours a day. We'll hit a ceiling and we'll sabotage. We'll meet an amazing potential partner, and then we'll be like, I don't know why, but I just am not attracted to them. And we put them in the friend zone. And it's because underneath it all, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, so we'll sabotage it.
Do you think that this is all perpetuated from childhood? Because we've had, funny this week, we've had a lot of people come on here who are very successful that have said something that their mom or dad or teacher said to them that replays in their head. I'll give like an example. Someone came on and said that their father said, "You'll never amount to anything."
Janice Dickinson came on.
And she's in her 60s now.
Yeah.
And she still replays, "You'll never amount to anything," still to this day. Is there something that you can pinpoint when you were a little girl that was playing in your head for you to sell your company for the amount you did and still not feel worthy?
Yes. Okay. I would love if you guys have a few minutes too to actually like go through this exercise where everyone listening can actually do that in their head to know what it is for them. Because here's the thing, some of us have a parent that said something, or we have someone in the school play yard that said it. For Ed Milet, for example, I don't know why I keep bringing him up, but he's like our mutual friend. For him, it was he remembers the moment when he was like pro level in baseball and sabotaged it. Like we have these moments that become these like that take root in our identity. For a lot of people, they've had failures or rejections that instead of thinking I failed or was rejected, they let it take root and think I'm a failure, I'm a reject. We all have different moments. And while some of us, like the one you shared with Janice, we have a parental figure that said something, for most of us, it's us telling ourselves the thing and believing it. So like part of why I wrote Worthy is to unlearn all the lies that lead to self-doubt and like ignite the truths that wake up worthiness. And one example that I'll share with you, and then I'll take everyone through how to do it because they can listen to us live and be like, oh wow, this is a thing in my own life. It was after I had sold my business, my whole life. Like I sat there as a little girl watching Oprah and dreaming of one day meeting her. Like I was home alone a lot as a little girl and I would watch her interviews and I was like, oh, and that was like my mentor from afar my entire life. And, after all the years of sort of like working hard to, pay my way through school and finally get into what I thought was my dream job, which was anchoring the news. And then I took a detour and launched It Cosmetics. What a lot of people don't know is that was a wild story. It was years and years and years and years of rejections, like teetering on bankruptcy, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections, and learning how to overcome those and not quit, and eventually turning that business into $1 billion company. And through all of that, I built a whole lot of self-confidence. I am in my 30s, about to turn 40, and I meet Oprah for the first time, which is like my lifelong dream. Then she invites me to lunch.
Did you know you were going to meet her, or was it just like okay.
Total at an event backstage in her green room? It was a whole thing, and I thought at best it'll be like 2 seconds on a step and repeat wall, but it ended up being this sort of private one-on-one meeting. It was just a couple minutes backstage at her event, and after it, I wrote her an email. She invited me over for lunch. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole thing. So I go to her house. Now
that's a big lunch.
And for anyone, it is a big lunch. For everyone listening, like if you've ever been in a great place in your life, like you're crushing it, all these things, that was me in that moment. I didn't know there was a huge difference between being self-confident but not having self-worth. And I learned it the hard way in this moment. This is really a defining moment for me. And I think a lot of people will connect with this, no matter what their circumstances are, because we've all sabotaged stuff and not known why. But I go to her house for lunch and I'm like, but I'm really confident. I'm crushing it. Like the Forbes list had just got all these things. And we have a 3-hour lunch. And at the very end of it, she hands me her cell phone number. And she's like, you can call me anytime. Call me anytime. And I left there and I did not call her for 4 years. Like literally my lifelong, didn't call her for 4 years. And in that 4-year window, I told myself stories like, oh, I just need to think of the right thing to say. Like I just got to come up with the right thing to say, then I'll call her. Or, oh, people probably want stuff from her. Like I'm going to prove I don't need anything. I'm not going to call her. I told myself all these stories. Until one day I realized, it hit me like out of the blue, like I'm not calling her because deep down inside, I don't believe I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the day where I was like, oh, wow. And that was the moment where two things, like every one of us, our thoughts, which are in our head and tell us self-doubt all day long, are not who we are. But they're so loud. Like our thoughts are so loud. And that's our head is where self-doubt lives. And our soul, our knowing, our truth, whether someone believes in God and prays and hears God that way, or meditates and gets still, or believes the universe has your back, or all of those things, our soul is where we know the truth. And I remember that day, that moment of knowing that was a lie. Knowing I'm a kick-ass friend. I am a ride or die kick-ass friend. Oprah or anyone else would be so lucky to be my friend. And I know that is the truth. And in that moment, I remember imagining myself turning down the volume on my thoughts or my self-doubt and turning up the volume on that knowing that knows I am enough. And that was the day I picked up the phone and called her. And that's also the day I became obsessed with studying self-worth and understanding like, oh, wow, if just like me in that day, so many of us can have a lot of self-confidence. We could have put in the reps, like all the things. But if underneath it all, we don't believe we're enough, we will still sabotage stuff, whether it is a relationship we don't think we're worthy of, whether it is our business going to the next level, whether it's a health and fitness goal, it could, or having great friendships, it could be any of it. And so that's really for me, probably the pivotal moment on how I realized, okay, in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of.
What'd you say to Oprah when you called her?
Okay, so the first time I called, she didn't answer. I'm like, 4 years, and she didn't answer.
I'm not a big answer phoner either.
I'm not either. I'm totally not either. And then we've talked since. We ended up teaching a class this last year, and now
she's on your podcast and you're on hers.
Yeah. So
when she heard this story, did she say anything to you about it? Was she like, why didn't you call?
Yeah, she understands it clear. She's so clear about it. And she, her big thing is exactly that. Like she'll say, you can work so hard. You can even believe something's possible. But if you don't believe you're worthy of it, she says it in the way of it will not come. There's so much in this book, and this book is not my story. This book is 20 plus tools on building unshakable self-worth. But I weave some stories in here I've never shared before because
it qualifies you, Jamie. This qualifies you. And go ahead. You said because.
Well, I almost took these stories out so many times.
Yeah, you told me you were thinking about it. I didn't know what they were until I read it. But thank God you didn't.
I just kept remembering the intention of this book. It is not about me. Like for anybody listening to us right now who feels like their past and their failures and their mistakes and the people they've hurt and the things that they feel like, as you would say, disqualify them from their dreams, right? Like so many people feel that way and they're staying here thinking, oh, I failed so many times, that means I'm a failure. They let it take root at an identity level. I've been rejected so many times, I'm a reject. Or I've made so many mistakes and bad decisions, I'm a mistake. And that is a lie. It is a lie that impacts our self-worth. It's a lie that you can unlearn. But here's the problem. I was at a moment in my life, I'm waitressing at Denny's, I have big dreams on my heart, and I start to miss the fact that I'm crushing numbers every week and that I'm having all of this sales success and all this attention and this money. And I'm like, okay, I'm waitressing at Denny's, busting my butt, hoping that someone throws a few dimes on the table because I'm in a college town where everyone has no money. And here's what happened, Ed, and this is for everybody listening. When we have low self-worth, even when we don't realize it, we get confused about a few things in life that are key. We get confused when we do not feel we are enough as we are. Attention starts looking like love. External significance starts looking like success. Validation from others starts looking like worthiness. And I was missing all of those things that I thought were love and worthiness. And the way it manifested in my life is I drove to the biggest city. I've never shared this before. I drove to the biggest city about an hour and a half away. Didn't even know what I was going to do, frankly. I was just like, stopped at an adult entertainment club, also known as a strip club, walked inside, saw all of these waitresses in these black pants and white shirts, and then all of these dancers not wearing anything. I remember the first time I walked in, there was like 30 or so patrons, men sitting in the audience, and I talked to a waitress there. And she told me like she makes a few $100 a shift selling sodas. They didn't even have alcohol there, selling sodas. And I literally applied for a job and got hired that day in the strip club. And I would waitress all week at Denny's, and I'd drive up there on the weekends, and then I'd waitress in the strip club. Now wearing black pants, a white shirt, but thinking, maybe I'll also dance, right? And in that club, for me in that moment, two big things. One, attention. I was confusing attention with love. I started dating someone who is a patron of the club. And I remember there's this moment where he took me to a firing range. And I'm out in the middle of nowhere in some city I don't know anybody in, with this dude I barely know, holding this gun at a firing range, and we're shooting targets. And I remember it was so loud, and I was like, okay, like he loved it, a lot of people love hobbies like that. And I was just like, I was more scared than I was interested at that point. And I remember just sort of losing connection with him over time. And eventually one night he drove me home from the strip club about an hour and a half back to my college apartment. And I decided to break up with him. Yeah. And in that moment, I remember looking in the back of his Jeep and seeing all of these guns and just going, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Even made sure the door was unlocked.
Yeah. Because I was like going through my head, like, because when I broke up with him, he got really quiet and I got really scared. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? And I was like making sure the door was unlocked because I had to dive out in the middle of the highway. Like, it was so scary. And I remember he dropped me off at my college apartment and we never spoke again. But that moment was a low for me in the sense where I was like, what am I doing with my life? And, you often talk about the thermostat example that, if we believe we're a 75 in identity or self-worth and things go lower, we'll warm it back up a little bit. And at that moment, a couple big things happened in my life that I share in the book that helped me start to build self-worth and to believe I'm enough. But here's what I want to say. There's a lot of things like this and others that I share in the book because I could have gone, okay, no one in my family has ever gone to college, or I've done these kind of things or hung out with these kind of people. I talk in the book about getting arrested for the first time and dating a guy who stole cars all the time. And
14 years old.
Yeah. And what it was like to be booked into juvie and just like all of these things where I could have said to myself, like, oh, all the things I've done that are bad means I'm bad. And that's one of the biggest lies we are so tempted to tell ourselves. All the things in my past that I'm embarrassed of or ashamed of or mortified of, or the mistakes I made or whatever it might be, mean I'm a mistake. And it's a lie. And we attach these labels to ourselves. I have a whole chapter in Worthy called Labels, and how we believe these labels that someone else has said about us or that we've stuck on ourselves. We believe they're permanent. Yep. And we let them take root, but they're not. They're like Post-it notes with that light adhesive. You can peel them right off, right? And I go through how to do that. But I could have doubted myself out of my own destiny, right? A lot of people, if they Google my story, you won't find any of this. Yep. What you find is, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company. Right. She's on the Forbes list. She taught a class with Oprah this year. Yep. You see all that. Yep. And you might think like, oh, things like that happen to other people, not people who have made so many mistakes like I have, or not people who have been through what I've been through. And I finally decided to keep some of the stuff in the book because this book is not about me. It's for every single person who has some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. And here's the thing I want to say too, Ed, about this is I believe every person listening, I believe our steps are ordered. I believe our lives are divinely orchestrated. And let me tell you something right now. When I built It Cosmetics, when we have millions and millions and millions of paying customers in the US and built this whole movement, like, it was not an accident I worked in a strip club. It wasn't an accident I waitressed at Denny's. It wasn't an accident that I was selling in the health club and understood what it's like to love someone else at the expense of loving myself. I believe, because what I learned, that my friends who work with me in the strip club, in the adult entertainment club, my friends there are the same as my friends sitting next to me in my college classes, as the professors teaching, as the people waitressing with me at Denny's, as the now fellow CEOs and fellow billionaires I know, right? They're the same. At our core, we all want to know we're enough, that we're worthy of love and belonging. Every one of us, we're the same.
I've never been more proud of you. The reason I'm just sitting here watching you is like, when I read it, I was proud of you, but to see you talk about it, it's even another level to have to verbalize it, I think. And I just hope everyone gains some measure of hope. That who would have pictured this girl who's working at the the fitness club dating a guy basically double her age, and you're going to go, don't worry, someday, young lady, you're going to reach millions of people on stages and inspire them to change your life. And then fast forward a little bit, and you're with this dude you meet in a strip club that you're working at, and just you're not treating yourself, betraying yourself, to use your words earlier, and say, don't worry, young lady, someday you're going to sell your company for over $1 billion. I just hope all of you gain some hope from this, and that if you have somebody in your life who's currently making a mistake or not living true to their integrity or their character, send them this interview. So have them go get the book. How inspiring. She must be perfect. She just worked hard as a waitress. No, there's some mess in there, and your mess does not disqualify you. And I think the other reason it's so powerful, Rory said this first on the show, and you and I talk about it a lot too, but you're most qualified to help the person or people you used to be. If you used to be so perfect, who are you here to help? But all of you just realize that this woman who's built this remarkable life, she's literally one of the most admired women currently living on earth. She is one of the most admired women, one of the most admired people on the planet right now. She's the person in my life outside of family that I admire the most, right? To think that at some point she was dating some dude double her age, working in a gym, getting attention, letting him date other women, that she would see the other women he was dating. It wasn't like he was hiding it. Then she goes to work at a strip club. And before that, she was arrested at 14 years old. This is not perfect little Jamie that everybody thinks they know. This is someone who's a flawed human being who's worked on her worthiness and has the pathway to do it in her life.
Your self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. The one thing that changes everything. And so often we think, whether it's in relationships, that we need to, do all the work to understand every detail of them to make them stronger. And that's true. That stuff really, really helps to understand at a granular level, how do you become a great friend or a great partner in a relationship? And all of that work's important. But underneath it all, if you don't also do the work of self-worth, of believing you're worthy of great friendships, of great relationships, then you will always sabotage them, or you will always do something to either never go for them, to never ask the person, do you want to be friends, and invest in that friendship as an adult, or you'll never tell the person you want to be more than friends in the relationship, or you somehow will hold back from showing up as the person you can be in that relationship, if underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of a really, really great relationship. We'll sabotage it. We'll either never go for it, or in some other way, we'll make sure it cools down to the level of our self-worth. Similarly in business, in your career, your ambitions, the business you're launching out there into the world. So often we think, oh, I just don't have enough experience yet, or I don't have, the right skill set yet, or the right connections, or the right mentor, all those kind of things. At the end of the day, when deep down inside you believe you're worthy of launching the business, of taking that business to new heights, of being an incredible leader, an incredible CEO, incredible boss, right? It's only by believing you're worthy of it that you'll literally go to that level. This is the one thing that literally changes everything. And so it is important to invest in building a skill set and building attributes and strengths and experiences and all of that. But the most important thing is to build strong self-worth underneath all of it, so that you have the foundation of your own identity. So there's a classic example that has been used for a zillion years in personal development, and it correlates your identity to the example of a thermostat, right? So you probably have heard this example, but it's important when you look at it through the lens of self-worth. So you may have heard a number of thought leaders talk about how we all have our own internal thermostat, right? That's like an automatic one. When you imagine walking into a room, maybe in your house or your office right now, maybe you have an automatic thermostat on the wall, and if you have it set at 75 degrees, and if all of a sudden things heat up in that room, what happens? That thermostat kicks in, lowers the temperature back down, right, to 75. Meanwhile, if things just get freezing cold in that room, it's gonna kick in and raise the temperature back up to 75. And so the classic example that so many thought leaders have shared
is really applicable when it comes to self-worth and your identity. Because let's say you set your self-worth, you believe you're worthy, you believe you're worth 75. Okay, that's the level of your self-worth. That's your identity right now, deep internal identity. Well, then when things go really, really right in your business or your relationships or your friendships or your goals and dreams, and all of a sudden it's on fire, it's a 90, but underneath it, you only believe you're worthy of 75, your thermostat kicks in. It sabotages the relationship. It doesn't call that person back. It doesn't show up and put your ideas out into the world. You work less hard, procrastination, feeling stuck. And before you know it, that 95 is back down to a 75. Similarly, if things are just going awful and they're really bad, they're down there to 50. When you believe you're a 75, you'll figure out, okay, what moves do I need to make? What efforts do I need to put in to get back up to that 75? Here's the thing, and I talk about this, I go deep in the master class inside of Worthy on how do you take that number, that 75 and raise it. How do you raise your internal level of identity and self-worth? Because you will not soar to the level of your goals and dreams. You will stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. It is the one thing that truly transforms everything in your life. And the book, which you can pre-order now, you get lots of bonuses with it. There's over 20 tools in this book, which is why I wrote it, because in my life, there are so many things where I didn't realize, why did I stay stuck? Why did I sabotage that thing? Why didn't I go to the next level? Like when I know in my soul I can, right? It's because when we don't believe we're worthy of it, every day, all day, we will sabotage it. We will stay stuck. We won't go for it because we have our level of identity right there at a 75. You know what I mean? And so if you can relate to this, the very first step is just become aware. Today, all I want you to do, in addition to ordering Worthy, because we're going to go through a lot of trainings together on how to do this as well, but I deep dive into it. But the trainings are part of a bonus when you grab it, when you pre-order the book. But what I really want you to do right now too is just become aware of it. Just become aware and be like, what do I believe my own internal identity is around self-worth? And how does that manifest in my life? What have I sabotaged? And think about all the areas of your life. What areas have I stayed stuck in and I don't know why? Like maybe you have a book inside of you or an idea and you don't know why you haven't written it. Or you have this big idea you want to share in that, team meeting tomorrow. And every time there's an opportunity, you don't share it. Because we will not rise to the level of our goals and dreams. We will stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. So for now, just start to think about the areas of your life and how this impacts it. I love you. I believe in you. And by the way, the best thing is we can raise that number. I know it because I've done it. We can raise that number. Okay? That is the most exciting part.
Before we talk about IT Cosmetics, I'd like you to rewind a bit and share this concept that I first learned in your book, and that is that you were kind of always on a quest for achievement. And it was sort of how you were finding love. I mean, you were early in life, you were a very driven person. You were the high school valedictorian, you had a 4.0, you went on to become Miss Washington, you competed in the Miss USA pageant, you were a well-accomplished television journalist. Unpack this insight that you share around how perhaps your achievement of accomplishments and accolades was an attempt to find love.
Yeah. Lifelong journey on figuring that one out. And so I went through growing up with parents who worked super hard, like really, really hard. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college. And, I started working really hard at a young age. So pushing grocery carts in the Safeway grocery parking lot. And I eventually was a waitress at Denny's to pay my way through school. And I always had, so two things on that, Scott. I always had this feeling inside, like even when I was waitressing Denny's, I didn't know one day I would be running $1 billion company and have a, $1 billion exit to L'Oreal and all those other things. But I did know inside that I've always felt, I think God makes every one of us special. And I always had this feeling inside, like I was made for more, whether it was to give or to serve. I had something in me to offer the world, but I still doubted myself. And for many years of my life, and actually it's probably, a lot of people think my book is just, how did you build $1 billion company? It's really a book about how do you go from not believing in yourself to believing in yourself, and not trusting yourself to trusting yourself, and hearing your own gut and trusting it. Because I think that's really foundational for leadership, but also whether you want to build an amazing life or an amazing company, or an amazing team. But that's very different than this idea of I need to achieve to have love, which was a big theme in my life. And I didn't realize that until I was an adult. I grew up with parents that worked all the time. And I realized, I wasn't fully aware of this, but when I would achieve something big, that was when they would show up, right? And so I can look back and recognize that now. And what I realize is, for a big journey of my life, I equated like, oh, I've got to win to matter, or I've got to achieve to matter, i.e. to feel love, right? So I look back and I realize that was a definite pattern. And I think for every achiever out there, whether they're type 3 on the Enneagram or they're just simply, so driven, I think the biggest thing that has been, and on top of it all, and I share this in the book for the first time ever, in my late 20s, I found out by complete surprise that I was adopted. And I went on this multi-year search trying to find my birth mom, and also trying to learn how to forgive and all those things. So anyone who's ever had kind of the rug pulled out from underneath them by someone that they thought they knew or loved or trusted, I talk about that journey of forgiving and healing as well. And, I think that it's been a lifelong journey of trying to understand the need to achieve and how sometimes we can equate that to love, and separating that from I'm enough, right? Separating I'm not enough, I need to achieve to find love, to I'm enough. And this is going to sound, I guess, soft to talk about, but I think this is an issue that impacts as many men and as it does women. I think it's an issue that especially impacts leaders and CEOs, because by nature, they're achievers and by nature, they're driven. And one thing I talk about in this book a lot is coming to the realization that when you are an achiever and you're just trying to get the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, it's never enough. And it never actually brings fulfillment. And until what you're doing is completely bigger than yourself and in service to other people, that's really where joy and fulfillment in life comes in. It's also where joy and fulfillment as a leader comes in. It's where joy and fulfillment for your own teams comes in, right? To go back to like the why beneath the why, I mean, it was so much bigger than ourselves. To shift culture in the whole beauty industry for every little kid who's about to start doubting themselves, and every grown woman who still does, is a very bigger than ourselves why that every person on our team, once we grew and grew and grew, could deeply identify with. So being in service for something greater than ourselves, I believe, is one of the pieces of our secret sauce that allowed us to enter an industry of giants, past all of these people used to say you could never break into the beauty industry because all the department store floor space was controlled by a small number of giants, et cetera, and we were able to break in and pass all of them. And I believe a big part of that is because the authentic reason for why we were doing what we were doing was bigger than ourselves. A lot of companies will have a why that's attached to sales, or they think rewarding employees with bonuses and this and that is enough to have retention. But I really believe how we scaled is because the why was so much bigger than ourselves in service. Was a big component of it, and it was authentic, right? And I think the same thing for anyone who's an achiever in life. I think the same thing is true. Is a lot of times people who are achiever based continue to accomplish and achieve and get praise from the outside world because they have what the world tells them success looks like, but they're not fulfilled. And I think that step one is becoming aware of it. oh, wow, I actually have thought accomplishment or achievement is significance or is love. And being aware of it, being like, that's not true, because, and we know it's not true because it never feels fulfilling when we achieve another thing, right? And then taking the step beyond to realize like, oh yeah, when I live my life in service of others, when I approach the day with how can I give, how can I serve, I think it was my friend Brendan Burchard that said, like, when you walk in a room, instead of saying, look at me, you say, I see you, right? When we switch our mindset to that, whether it is in the workplace or in our daily lives, I think that is one of the foundational steps to overcoming that whole achiever thing. Because, and it doesn't mean you're less competitive at all, but it means that your competition shifts. And what I mean by that is I talk a lot in the book about this journey of competition, this journey of how I saw the competitive landscape, this journey of how I made sure I didn't get distracted by what our competition was doing and let it tempt me or my teams to dilute their own secret sauce. And I talk a lot and believe it about realizing, like really realizing this lesson that I believe in every ounce of my being, which is that as individuals, we're not here on this earth to compete with anyone else. We're here to compete with the person God made us capable of becoming, right? And when I think of who God made me capable of becoming, I know I'm nowhere there yet. And I know that person, while I want to give and serve and all that, who he made me capable of becoming kind of has nothing to do with titles or accolades or things I achieve or money in the bank. It's, am I serving at the highest level? Am I using everything that he gave me to live in a life of service that actually makes a difference for other people? And so for me, when we measure our own achievement that way, that's when it becomes fulfilling. And so it's been a big life lesson for me. And I still right now, and I'm sure Scott, you do as well, know so many people that the world tells them every day that what they're doing is successful, but they're not happy. And I think it's because they haven't crossed that threshold from achievement for themselves to none of those things matter. What matters is, am I living a life in service that's greater than myself? Am I using all the gifts and talents that I've been blessed to be born with to live a life in service and make a difference? And that can come at the core of every for-profit company and for-profit leader, as well as, of course, nonprofit and everything else. But that's an internal, like leadership is an internal job first.
Jamie, so beautifully said.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Baby, Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.